Hello, everybody. Welcome to Staff Strong, a new webinar brought to you by Desert Waters Correctional Outreach. I'm Stephanie Rawlings, Deputy Director of Desert Waters. My co-host today is going to be Justin Stevens, and of course, our Executive Director, Dr. Katerina Spinaris, is on deck as well. So we are going to get started here. Today, we are going to spend about the next 30 minutes going through a product exploration for corrections fatigue to fulfillment. Now, I want to be very clear that we are not presenting the course during this presentation. We are merely highlighting the course so that you guys can have some information about our foundational course here at Desert Waters. And you may have heard of it. It's often referred to as CF2F. So this particular course was actually awarded the 2016 IACTP Commercial Product Award of Excellence. So this has been around for quite some time. It has undergone a lot of revisions with a lot of feedback from a lot of different agencies. And so today we're going to be answering questions and we're going to be highlighting the specifics of this course. And this webinar that you are attending is also going to be occurring monthly as we go forward until we actually present an exploratory session on all of our products through Desert Waters. And I would just also encourage you to reach out through our website to explore the rest of our training products and some of our other services that are available. And also subscribe to our monthly publication, The Correctional Oasis. And we're going to talk more about the August edition of the Correctional Oasis a little bit later in the presentation. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Justin, who is going to tell us a little bit more about CF2F.
So before I get into CF2F, a little bit about Desert Waters. Desert Waters is a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been around for about 22 plus years. And our focus is on public safety, staff, families, and the agencies. In our programs, we focus on, you know, the staff trainings, focus on family trainings, and also we walk alongside agencies to improve the wellness programs that are around. Our focus has been on corrections for those 22 plus years. That's where the start kind of was. And since then, realizing that all public safety has really the same stressors. We see the same traumas. We deal with the same issues. And so realizing that there's that connection between corrections and other first responders. Desert Waters, we focus on wellness training. Today we're speaking about CF2F, and we have other trainings that we'll be going over in the coming months. Also, a big focus on research, looking at the root causes and problems within our profession. We also have staff wellness programming and the safety net accreditation, looking at accrediting programs for their staff wellness, making sure that they have the holistic approach. A little bit more about where CF2F came from. It was authored by Katerina Spinaris, Dr. Katerina Spinaris, and it was based on research and her 30 years plus of clinical experience treating trauma and really treating people who worked in the corrections field, and realizing that there is a common problem and common issues coming through the door. And so she's been now over 22 years training corrections staff on corrections fatigue and going from that fatigue to the fulfillment and finding a way to get out of the bad spot that we can find ourselves in. A little bit about the objectives for the course. So when we look at corrections fatigue to fulfillment, what we're looking at is four main objectives, and that's we're looking to describe the nature and causes of corrections fatigue. And really what that is it's putting a name to what we go through on a daily basis and what we go through in our career. I remember the first time I took the class, seeing what corrections fatigue was and reading the definition and being like, oh my goodness, I know what this is now. Just having a name to it is awesome. We identify basic skills that promote self care. We identify strategies to increase fulfillment as a corrections profession, and we identify strategies to cultivate a positive organizational climate. And really, what those objectives look at is how can we make our environment better, take control of the areas that we can take control of as a professional, and really try to lead our life away from corrections fatigue into the fulfillment side. And with that, I will kick it back over to Steph.
Thank you, Justin. So, one of the things that we get asked about a lot is the return on investment for investing into curriculum for staff wellness and employee well-being. And over the years, that has been kind of a hard data point to nail down in a vacuum. And I say that because a lot of people are very interested in investing in wellness initiatives and training now because of retention efforts that they are seeking, or just increasing positivity in the workplace or improving morale. And all of those things are wonderful reasons to invest into a staff wellness program. But one of the things we always talk about is that when you're looking at specific data points for wellness programming, you really have to consider the people factor. And that's hard to nail down sometimes. It's not necessarily performance related as much as culture related. And so, really, when we're looking at the return on investment, we're looking at the cultural return on investment when we're talking about these types of trainings. And so, how I always caveat that though, because a lot of agencies and administrators are really being pressured, if not forced, and I've lived that experience as well, to provide justifications in data sets for investing into programs like these. And so that is really why I wanted to call your attention to our August Oasis. So we have a monthly publication and we collect stories, we collect a lot of research products through that publication, where really Dr. Spinaris is really great about writing articles that synthesizes research in easy to read ways for staff wellness. It would really be worth your time to take a look at that August Oasis, because we spend almost the entire issue talking about the return on investment, but we provide anecdotal data. We provide lived experience from different departments, from different wellness advocates in different correctional environments, correctional administrators of staff wellness programs, CF2F instructors that we've certified that have delivered the program in their agency in a widespread part of a comprehensive wellness program. So I really want to encourage everybody, when you're thinking about the return on investment, we decided that instead of putting a bunch of slides up here that had some statistics on them and numbers that was just going to be kind of an overload fire hose, that it would be more beneficial to link you up to our Oasis so that you could really read the stories of CF2F and the experience that different agencies have had. Another thing about CF2F that we really, and this is not just isolated to CF2F, but all of our training products and services, is that we try really hard to come alongside and partner with the agencies that we're serving. And we want to make sure that our products and trainings, such as CF2F, are implemented correctly and have the highest level of success that they can have. We want to make sure that we're providing feedback and consultation for implementation. We want to make sure that we're providing agencies the best possible setup so that they can be successful in implementing this, because this is a different kind of training. This is training that is only for staff. This is training that can be emotionally heavy at times. This is training that really brings around an awareness to how corrections can impact personal lives, professional workplace cultures, communities at large. And so we want to make sure that agencies are really set up to deliver this in a way that can really have the biggest return on investment as far as workplace culture improvement and the reduction of corrections fatigue, which we're going to talk about corrections fatigue here coming up next. And lastly, before I hand it back over to Justin, I want to point you back to our website as well, where you can find pricing for all of our products. Some of our training products, like CF2F, have a train the trainer program in addition to direct delivery. And you can find out which of those trainings would work best for your agency. Some of them are only direct delivery. And all of the 2025 pricing is up to date on our website. So you can find that 2025 pricing for each of those trainings and train the trainers. We offer virtual training and we offer in person, and you can find out more about each of those on our website. We thought it would be a good idea as part of this presentation to maybe bring forth a couple of concepts that you might see in the corrections fatigue fulfillment training. So on the next two slides, Justin and I are going to share some information, content straight from the curriculum, just to give you a feel for what kinds of topics that we're talking about. And then we're going to talk, after Justin presents that, we're going to talk a little bit about what kinds of classroom activities or session activities that we do with this curriculum.
Thank you, Steph. So what we're going to look at right now is the corrections fatigue process model, and this is kind of the one of the foundational pieces of looking at corrections fatigue and how it affects the profession. Now, in the training, we go into it a little bit deeper. I'm going to kind of give you the overview of it in a quick manner. So, looking at this process model, we start off on the right hand side with work stressors. And our work stressors are the things that we go through on a daily basis. It's the operational, where, you know, our 24/7 operation, the bloodborne pathogens that we face every day, the equipment issues that we deal with. Then we have organizational issues, which we refer to as the people issues. You know, we deal with people. That's our job. We deal with the incarcerated. We deal with peers. We deal with supervisors, subordinates, all of that. And so that's the organizational. And then the traumatic is obviously the traumatic incidents, the direct trauma that we face when we're walking the line. It's the trauma that we face when we're reading in the inmates' files what they've done in the past, and reliving that trauma that occurred, you know, previously. And so all of those are kind of brewing. And what I like to look at is it's kind of like a tornado. And you have this cloud that's just forming and it's brewing throughout our career. And it might be 6 months, it might be 5 years that this storm is just brewing. But it's all of these stressors working together. And what it does is it leads into the center of the tornado. And that eye of the tornado is corrections fatigue. And corrections fatigue, as it forms that eye of the tornado, it starts to spit things out. And that's declined health, where we look at, you know, high blood pressure, um, gaining weight, lack of sleep, not being able to sleep, all those health issues that we see, you know, in ourselves or with our peers. Impaired functioning, not taking care of the things that we're supposed to take care of. You know, maybe not spending time with the kids like we should, not paying the bills like we know we need to, not taking care of the work at work that we're supposed to take care of. And then we have the negative personality changes where, you know, maybe we're a little bit harsher with the people that we care about. We're a little bit moodier, irritable. We show signs of having stress, anxiety, depression, things like that, where our personality is changing. And so, what does that do? And what it does, it has that individual impact. We're walking around with corrections fatigue and we have all those things going on. It affects us as an individual. We have negativity just pouring out of our pores because of everything that we've been dealing with these work stressors. And as it affects us as an individual, we all know misery loves company. So as we start to get more and more people battling corrections fatigue, we start really looking at that workforce culture impact. And with that workforce culture impact, as more and more people start being affected by corrections fatigue, that negativity uh, starts to infest the workforce culture, and it starts to take over. There is no positivity anymore, and you start to have, people being negative. That's when you start having the um, backstabbing, the name calling, the harassing each other, um, where it's just not a fun place to work anymore. And granted, don't get me wrong, prison's never a fun place to be. Um, but we can definitely see where morale can take a hit when the negativity starts getting um, infested in our workforce culture. And then I think one of the most important circles is this last one that I'm going to talk about is family impact. Um, you know, as much as we've probably heard before, leave work at work and home at home, we all know we can't do it. It's a failed mission um, trying to do that. And so as we have that negativity and we have that corrections fatigue, um, and we bring it home with us, what does it do to the family? We start to become isolated with our family. We start to build walls of separation from our family. We start to not communicate with them as much. Um, and we start to distance ourselves. And I'm sure that we can all look through our careers and see where, families have been impacted greatly by corrections fatigue and what we go through. And so that's the process model and kind of how it culminates from the beginning with the work stressors all the way through affecting us as an individual, the workforce, and the family.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. So now we're going to move into the fulfillment side. So CF2F is an 8-hour course. And so if you can split it right down the middle, we spend about 4 hours talking about fatigue, which Justin just dialed in about 2.5 minutes. And then we move on to the second half of the class and we talk about fulfillment, because one of the things that Desert Waters profoundly uh, is places value on is having people leave with tools, not just talking to them about the problem, but really having them leave with the tools to combat the problem. So during the second half of the course, we talk about what's called the big 7 dimensions. And these big 7 dimensions are really key psychological dimensions that folks working in corrections need to have met to feel satisfaction in the work that they're doing. And so when these dimensions are not being met and there is a void or an emptiness surrounding in them, that is where corrections fatigue really starts to take hold and originate. And the foundation of corrections fatigue is rooted in these dimensions not being satisfied. So, what we like to do during the fulfillment section is we will take these big 7 dimensions and we will divide a class up into small groups. And each group will go through these 7 dimensions and they will identify some key areas where those are challenged. So, I'm going to give you a real quick example of one that a group might come up with. Physical safety is always the easiest one. Physical safety, if that's not met, if you are feeling like you are in constant danger and out of control for feeling safe all day long, that's going to create some pretty profound risk area for corrections fatigue. And so, a group might come together and say, well, my equipment working. And an example that we used at my facility was it's my responsibility at my level to ensure that before I walk away from the armory that my radio is keyed up, the battery is not dead, and that I have the right set of keys. Those are very simple things where at my level and my sphere of influence walking into the facility, I can double check that my equipment is operating at the beginning of the shift and maybe even periodically throughout the shift. And so the groups come up with solutions. And I think the thing that really sets apart corrections fatigue to fulfillment and really a lot of the Desert Waters training products is we always take the class into their level of influence. We don't have people sitting around a table coming up with solutions that they are not in a position to affect change. So if a group comes together and says, well, we just need to change a policy. Unless there's a policymaker sitting at that table, that is not something that they themselves can write as one of their solutions. So this is an example of a small group activity. And the really cool part is we share out as a group at the end. So everybody gets to leave with multiple solutions, not just the two that their group came up with. And so I wanted to use this slide as a demonstration of the types of tools that we teach to get onto the fulfillment side from that fatigue side. Who are our master instructors? Well, here we are, all of our beautiful faces right here for you to see. The reason that we put this up here is that we want you to know that the master trainers that are coming in, master instructors, I'm sorry, are coming in to train your staff are people who have worked in corrections, who are intimately uh, experienced with what it means to walk through those galleys, with what it means to work in the correctional environment. And if you added up the years of experience on this slide, it would easily be over 150, I'm sure, maybe closer to 200, of working in different correctional environments. Some large systems, some smaller systems, some administrators, wardens, some from the federal system, some from the county, some from the state. We really have a huge level of experience across these individuals. I'm really proud to know and call all of them my friends. They all have the stories and the experience that each one of you have. I am confident in saying that. As we've gone out and met with other departments, I always like to highlight that our master instructors are people who know what it's like to work in corrections. And I will tell you that when I worked in corrections and they used to bring in training with people who didn't know the environment, we could smell that a mile away. And so that it meant something when the people standing in front of us knew what it was like to walk through those places and have those experiences with the people in custody and have those experiences with the workplace culture. So these are top-notch folks. We are so proud to have them working with us at Desert Waters, and couldn't be more humbled to be a part of that group in front of you right now. Also, just want to make sure you guys know that you can reach out to us at any time at admin@desertwaters.com. We would love to schedule a meeting with you if that would be helpful to your agency.
This is Katerina speaking. I'd like to say that you remember the old saying that Rome was not built in a day, and it's all about taking a first step and preparing the ground for that first step and doing one's homework. That's why we would come alongside an agency and walk them through what does it take to implement this kind of material, what preparation would they need for a successful outcome as much as humanly possible in a correctional setting. And so there is a lot of forethought that goes into it, but the benefits can be really, really vast. And we have people that have seen it offered department-wide. We have them on the call here. We have some people who have seen it use a mandatory training. Other people who used it as a voluntary training, well thought out, and both have worked. And so it's all about kind of considering taking that first step. And we'll be very, very happy to sit with you and go back and forth and discuss options and what would be the best fit for your particular department, because we really love customizing things, not just trying to shove something down somebody's throat, but customizing for the best possible outcome, because we really want to see best possible outcomes. That's why we're here, to see you help improve your environment in your workplace and support your staff and each other. Chris, is there anything you would like to add? Because you've seen it implemented in California. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think you guys covered it pretty good for a quick introduction. What I can say is that I guarantee if you start implementing stuff like this, you're going to see results. And it goes back to that, even if you only affect 3 or 4, you've made a difference in your department. So I encourage you guys to look into the material, see what fits, and get with Katarina and the team to take a deeper look into some of the material for your departments.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you won't be disappointed.
Yeah. Could you say something, Chris, because I heard you saying it before about you, when you were trained as an instructor in your department, you were not sure this was going to fly. And then your experience proved otherwise. Could you share about that? Your
Yeah.
initial
So
apprehension versus what the outcome was?
yeah, definitely. I'll try to keep it brief. So when I took this training, it wasn't really informed on what the training was. And we kind of went up to this training. And as at the time I was I was the IST manager for our institution. So I ran all the training. And because it was such an intense 8 hours every week, I went as one of the instructors to take it. And sitting through it, I won't lie. I thought the material was good, but I never believed I'd be able to take this back to a high security institution like where I worked and sell this product. When you're dealing with high security, which a lot of you guys know, tends to be a lot harder crowd. Um, just very guarded, very walls built, very protective. So I just didn't believe it. And I was pretty honest with Katarina. We had a conversation in the hallway during a break one day during the training, and I pretty much just kind of laid it out. And she was gracious and very kind to me, and how she approached me. And ultimately, we went back and we realized we had to do this training because we made it mandatory in California. And me and my partner at the time sat down and said, "Okay, we've got to do this." So we started doing it and we started training it, and it was really shocking. Within the first couple of weeks, it was really amazing just to see how many staff, especially OGs, experienced, seasoned officers that were coming into my office asking me where this material was. What's taken the department so long to bring in material that's about staff. And to the point where some of the people that walked into my office, they were crusty, ornery, just hardcore, were practically in tears after going through the course because they realized and they saw a lot of what they'd done to their families, what they'd done to themselves over the years in the department. So it was really astonishing to me and my partner just to see how fast we started getting the responses from our experienced officers, especially. But it definitely had an impact. I definitely believe it made a difference out in the facilities. And I mean, I could go on and on some of that stuff as well, because I saw direct results of implementing some of the practices of CF2F with my staff when I became a captain, and how I saw my sick calls drop on my facility in particular over the first, especially pre-COVID. So I really think it had a huge impact. Though I can't give you numbers and percentages, what I can tell you is that I did see a drastic drop in my sick calls on my facility during that time.
Thank you, Chris. Much appreciated.
Well, we invite each of you to attend next month, where we will be discussing Towards Corrections Fulfillment, which is our version of CF2F for new hires. So it has a completely different perspective lens, and is centered around preparing new hires for the work environment, really playing that offense when it comes to staff wellness. So if you would like to join us, please watch for the flyer. You can check back on the website periodically. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. All of the information for our webinars will be posted there. Staff Strong will be focused on TCF next month. And additionally, on August 28th, you can join us for our regularly scheduled monthly webinar, where we will be discussing the organizational impact on corrections fatigue. I know I'm getting that wrong. I do not have the flyer right in front of me. I'm so sorry. Katarina or Justin, maybe you can correct me.
No, you're very close. It's the organizational cultural impact on mental health of staff.
There we go.
Because we focus a lot on trauma, and its effects on mental health, but we forget that there is a tremendous amount of evidence that organizational culture may even affect staff's mental health even more than trauma, and why though that is and what we can do about it.
And Justin just dropped the flyer into the chat so that you can register for our webinar. That will be a 90-minute educational webinar that we've been doing those for going on 2 years now. So those have really been very good and an awesome time of networking and sharing and education. And we look forward to those every month, and we hope that you can join us. So if you think of any questions after we close out here, please just reach out to us, admin@desertwaters.com. We are always available to respond to you, answer your questions, and schedule meetings with you as needed. And we certainly look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Take care, and thank you all for joining us.